Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about Joseph Campbell's The Monomyth, for what we all know as The Hero's Journey. So I've been familiar with this for a while. When I read the Odyssey in freshman year, we briefly talked about this, and of course the Odyssey does connect very well to The Hero's Journey, but we didn't really go much into detail about it. So The Hero's Journey is pretty much a cycle of events that shape the hero, but also to form a good story. Like a lot of literature nowadays, much like a lot of movies, a lot of TV show episodes, a lot of books, even a lot of video games follow the hero's journey, and we use it to not only try to follow the hero's path, but also put together their experiences to what makes them a hero. So now, from what I'm going to be putting the hero's journey to is actually a book and a movie. It's one of my favorite. I'm not even going to talk about the movie because it's been one of my favorite movies for a long time. But the book is called The Body by Stephen King, but the movie is called Stand By Me. Now, one of my favorite movies. I've watched it for a lot. Like used to watch it a lot as a kid. The ordinary world starts off as four young boys, and they're in 12 years old, living in Castle Rock, Oregon. They all come from abusive families, and their call to adventure is that one of the boys, Vern, who's a timid and the one that gets picked on a lot, he overhears his brothers in a gang saying like they found a dead body, which was another kid that they knew from school, and they found his body. Like supposedly, they heard that his body was found at the end of a railroad, and so Vern runs to his friends saying like, we could be famous for this. Our families will finally respect us. But the refusal here is that Vern doesn't want to go. But what makes him want to go is that his friends, like all the boys, are just like, we could get away from our abusive families for a while. So now the reason why I'm only going to talk about there's going to be four heroes in this story. The mentor is going to be Gordy's brother, we don't really get to meet in the story, but because he's dead, and his family's dysfunction comes from his brother dying at a young age, and his family just kind of just mentally ignoring Gordy, and now Gordy feels alone, and all he has is his friends left. He's the main character actually, and the journey starts off as the allies are, of course, the four young boys, and the enemies are the gang led by Ace, and Chris, one of the boys' older brother, is part of that gang. Of course, Vern's older brother, and a bunch of other teenagers that constantly bully the young kids. So the journey is they hit the train tracks, and then they come across their first threshold, which is a junkyard. The junkyard is ran by some junk man, and if anyone comes in, he sticks his dog on them. So they try to run through the junkyard, and the junk man catches them almost at the last second. They hop the fence and the dog, and they just get away from the dog. So their trials are not only was it the junkyard, but it was they were crossing a long bridge, and that was on a train track, and as they were crossing that bridge, the train comes, so they had no choice. In the end, they had no choice but to jump off the bridge and barely make it onto the hill that connected from one mountain to another. There was also the trial of the leeches, how they had to cross a pond that didn't look so shallow at first, but it was shallow, so they had to cross that, and and they had to pull leeches off each other. So after all those trials, they're almost there to the body, but they all want to turn back and go home. However, Gordy, the main hero, persuades everybody that they've made it that far, so we're gonna go back. We're gonna finish what we started. So they succeed. They find the body. However, they had walked there, but the gang of boys had got there by car, and they want to take credit for the body, to a point where they held one of the boys by knife point. However, Gordy pulls out the gun that Chris had stole and threatens to kill the leader of the gang, Ace. As he points the gun at Ace, they all the boys believe that he's serious about shooting them. So they all turn back. The boys decide they're going to anonymously report the body to the authorities, in which they do. So that's them letting go of their desire to be famous. That is the discarding their old self. Now accepting the new role that it's like, well, we are just young boys with ambition, but let's just face the fact that we're all here. We're all in this together with our abusive families. So they take the road back, and the final challenge is that they is only in the book how the gang comes back and attacks the boys, but they don't want to report them to the authorities. For what reason, we're not sure, but they just decide not to because it was they wanted to be the bigger person. So order's restored. They all go their separate ways, and depending on which version you see, the movie or the book, it all ends differently. But in the end, like, Gordy ends up telling the story of how him and his friends end up go out to seek a dead body, but instead they find themselves, pretty much.